Hi, I'm Chaplain Larry Crabtree with the Maryland State Police in the St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office.
And I'm Chaplain Charlie Wharton with the St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office. Larry, you and I have had a lot of fun doing this series. We've had a lot of fun doing some series in the past. But we want to talk about something now that is very dear to our hearts, and it's a conversation that's very difficult to have. It's about suicide, and not just about suicide, but about police suicide. What are statistics showing us today?
We don't want to go real deep into this, but it's pretty troubling, actually. There's a number of agencies out there like Blue Help. If you get a chance, look them up on the internet. They have some great resources dealing with this. But they really started to seriously begin to look into police suicide starting in 2016. So in 2016, the records show that there were 143 police officers that took their life. And what you'll see from 2016, that's not that long ago, till last year, 2019, it has skyrocketed. Just for an example, in 2018, there were 174 police suicides. In 2019, there were 228. That is a big, big jump. I looked just this morning before we came for our recording here today. In 2020 so far, we're halfway through the year, we have 93 police suicides. So everybody recognizes this is a matter of grave concern. And we're not going to have the answers. You and I are not psychiatrists. We're not specializing in this. I will say we're well seasoned as chaplains. We have certainly been in the law enforcement swimming pool for a lot of years. And we can see what goes on, and we understand the dynamics of law enforcement. And so when I see these kind of numbers, I'm concerned. So today, we're going to open a dialogue, at least get the conversation started, because this is a big issue. And I think it's worthy of us probing just a little bit.
Larry, the numbers that you just gave are staggering. I've heard as many as 2 to 1 law enforcement officers that take their own life that are killed in the line of duty. Back in about the time of 9/11, I was up in New York, and they were talking about their monument of officers that had been killed. And one of the officers there made the statement, if this included the number of people that killed themselves, this would be 3 times as big as what it is. That's the type of magnitude that we're talking about.
This is concerning. This is worth some discussion.
When you look at this, and we're not experts on this, we're not mental health folks, we're just guys that really care about a profession and care about those individuals in that profession. What do you see as some of the contributing factors to police suicide?
Well, Charlie, I think what you're going to have to do is you go back and you watch every one of those other videos we've just had in this series where we've talked about stress. Particularly, we talked about critical incident stress. Those are those encounters that are very traumatic. That's the big stuff, that just the abnormal situations that rock you, that are hard for us to deal with. Those are significant, but they pale in comparison to the chronic, daily, cumulative stress that a police officer faces. And I'm going to be honest, that's the kind of stress that is most deadly to police officers if it's not dealt with.
We've spent a lot of time dealing with critical incident stress. You and I have done debriefings together.
More than we care to count. Yep.
If we never have to do another one, that is going to be fine with me. But you just hit the nail on the head that of all the people that I have done debriefings with, I'm not sure that I know of any of them that have committed suicide.
Thankfully, yes.
But when we start to make this distinction, it's that cumulative stress that's what tips people over the edge.
Yeah. Right now, as we're talking about this, just Sunday, I received word of a law enforcement officer that I knew for years was very close to me that took his own life. So, this is really, emotional for me at this point, and very serious as we discuss this. So this is something I want us to try to do something to stop and to make better. So this is the issue. That's the purpose of today.
And I think the first thing that we can do is to say we have to start talking about this issue. We can't keep sweeping it under the rug. We can't say that it doesn't exist. This is some of anything that we've talked about
Yeah.
to this point. This has to come to the forefront because this truly is life and death.
Well, Charlie, let's put it this way. The common and major contributor to police suicide is the inability or the absolute reluctance to seek out help. That's really, I mean, every suicide that we've talked about, that's the key. That's going to be in every one of them. And we've talked about this how many times in this series. We have got to change the culture in law enforcement that we are able to be vulnerable with each other. Not talking about the world, we're talking about those in-house, chaplains, administrators, comrades, friends, family, about when we struggle. I get it, police officers, they're there to fix problems, but sometimes you all have a problem, I have a problem, and we need to be honest enough to say, I'm struggling. And it's okay. If we do that early, as earlier we can do that, then we're going to alleviate the big problems that can come.
One of the things that has a tendency to promote suicide are masking those issues, sometimes with denial, a lot of times with chemicals, until the point comes, I just can't deal with this anymore. The world would be better off without me, and I will stop hurting when I make this choice.
Yeah. And I think you're lying to yourself in some ways when you start thinking that way. Because first of all, alcohol isn't going to fix anything, or drugs. We all know alcohol's a depressant, so all it's really going to do is just make you more depressed. It's going to make you feel more hopeless. Well, you might feel better for a few minutes, an hour or so, but ultimately, as you're coming down off of that, you're just going to feel terrible. It makes it worse. The other thing that is a fallacy is that somehow it's going to be better, it's going to fix it if I'm not here. Well, stop and think about the people around you that care about you and how messed up that makes them and the pain it brings in their life. I mean, I'm not just talking about the pain of loss, we're talking about financial, and they've been looking to you for financial support and help, stability in the family, caring for responsibilities. I mean, all that stuff just disappears and you're left alone. That's not fair. That's not fixing anything. And again, people aren't talking about these things. Suicide's not the fix. It's not going to fix a thing. It makes stuff worse.
And it's also a legacy that you leave with the family. Because now, when you start to look at suicide and the impact, your family's got to outlive that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them never will.
Yeah. And by the way, we're not talking here like we're callous and don't care. I mean, when people are thinking suicide, they're really hurting. That's a genuine, deep, deep pain. There's a sense of hopelessness and a crushing weight of pain that most people can't understand. But what we're trying to communicate is, but the answer and the fix isn't taking away your life. That's not going to change that in any way. It makes it worse. And again, not enough people are openly talking about that. So we're talking about a very serious subject. There's nothing funny about this or trite. And so I know I have this sense that I'm trying to handle very carefully, but dealing with this honestly. And so we've started that discussion. I think maybe we'll just wrap it up this week, and let's come back to this again next week and pick up the second part of dealing with this reality of suicide.
Right.
So until then, be strong.
And literally, be safe.